trauma really comes through in this movie. It really will help people understand really what PTSD is.
It's kind of difficult sometimes when you watch movies like this and do not feel yourself in the moment. But you, that they've been in real life, um, how this portrayed a real situation and a real brotherhood. Because for me, something that is important, it's how much you trust the people next to you.
100%. I got that from this film. It put me right back in Iraq. I actually served in Ramadi where this incident took place back in 2003. And that is exactly like how me and, you know, the guy next to me, how we interacted, how we felt about each other, and how we trusted each other.
How do you feel that movies like this can close that bridge between the audience and the veterans? Because because when we have upgraded movies like Saving Private Ryan, that we watching this in the world, but this is more real, this is more recent. And how do you expect the movie, or how do you think the movie like this can close that gap between the audience, me, and veterans?
I think movies like this closes that gap very well because it doesn't glamorize, it doesn't put that Hollywood, spin on it. I mean, this was as real as to what it feels like to be in combat, in my opinion. This this was true to life and should help people who haven't served know what it feels like to be in combat.
Because most of the audience, me, because I'm an immigrant, and we only, most of the education that we have from war, it's mostly from movies. And like you say, glamorized, that we need a hero, we need someone good, and we're fighting someone that is bad. But here it's about survival. It's about that you need to survive because your people next to you, the people around you, and the family that you have back home. And we don't see that with veterans, because veterans also deal with mental health. Me as an audience, like I don't feel until I watch a movie like this it's real, because everything happened in real time. And for you, that you are a veteran, and how been that relationship when you watch movies, big Hollywood movies, between people approaching to you and asking you questions about how everything.
Definitely, there's a huge difference. Those bigger movies, things like Saving Private Ryan, even like the combat scenes in like Full Metal Jacket, Forrest Gump, and stuff like that. Like there's always, oh, it tends to be a little bit overdone, bigger than life. And this is more true to life as far as like how, the US military, like how their opponents act and how they fight, the confusion that's caused during war. This really stays true to life with it. And one of the like best aspects I saw about this movie too is like it depicts people from all walks of life. And that's what my experience was in the military. Um, Everyone that was to my right, to my left, they came from everywhere. People were immigrants. I'm the son of an immigrant. My mom's from Cuba.
Oh,
And it's really important to me to see that in movies is that people, aren't always, like in the 1940s and 50s and even 60s military movies, it was all, just tall white guys.
exactly. It's basically like we are the hero, we are the police of the world, that we're gonna save the world and everything. But
Exactly.
they never speak about. I think it was after Manchurian Candidate that we start thinking about the consequences of people that goes to war. Like it's really like we really speak about that.
Yeah,
We only want the show, we only want the shooting, we only want the Black Hawk Down things, like, oh, the shooting, and these people are badass, but they never speak behind what happened after everything's calm.
exactly. And I could see it written on the actors' faces in this movie, like the trauma that they were experiencing in real time and how this 24 hours, this single event was going to stick with them for the rest of their lives because in combat in Iraq, I experienced IEDs. I experienced people dying. Someone died saving my life. I carry that with me every single day. And the trauma really comes through in this movie. It really will help people understand really what PTSD is.
Because Ray Mendoza, one of the co-directors, he used a lot of his memories to create this and a lot of his life.
I could tell.
And the actors, when you see the actors talking about the film, it's like they were actually there. And for me, the mental state of an actor being there is really important because first you have to, like you say, like someone saved your life. You will never forget this. So how do you communicate that to an actor to feel that, to understand a script? Because they never been there. You can explain them so many times how you went through something. But do you have any idea how Ray Mendoza could like transmit this feeling of his life to an actor or to a script?
That is a great question. I can't speak to how he does it. I was not there, unfortunately, for filming. I'm actually in film school right now
Oh,
and just
cool, cool.
directed my first short film about a war veteran that suffers from PTSD. And the way that I did it was I just told my story. I sat my actors down and I told my story and I told it again and again to them and I let my emotions show to let them know how it really affected me. And I imagine Ray probably did something along that effect because they really sold it.
If you could talk for the new generation, people that like don't know what is the war about it, and you have to explain why we go to war, why we have to do this, why we have to face these fears, why we have to face death. Because there's a, I don't know, 20, 30 years that we had the last big war. It was in Iraq, and since then there's a whole generation of people that basically do not understand why we do this, why people like you do that, why do you offer your life to save others.
Right. Um, I do it because it feels like it's the right thing to do. My mother, who was an immigrant from Cuba, one way that she, felt that she earned her place here in this country was she joined the U.S. Army. Well, that's where she met my father. Both my parents served in the Army. One of my grandfathers fought in World War II. I had an uncle that fought in Vietnam. Someone in my family has fought in every conflict going back to the Civil War. And so I felt it was important to, I mean, represent my generation and you know serve my country because I love it here.
So you're going to film school. Now you're gonna tell your version of what you went through. Uh, can you tell me a little bit more about this? Because I'm curious now that you're going to film school and why choosing films to express yourself.
Well, my job in the military, I was a broadcast journalist for the military. If you've ever seen Good Morning Vietnam with
Yeah, of
Robin
course.
Williams, or Full Metal Jacket, that's along the lines of what my job was. And I thought it would be like, oh, I'm a broadcast journalist. I'll be at a radio or TV station. If we deploy somewhere, in the rear, um, that was not the case. I first deployed to Tikrit in Iraq in 2003, tip of the spear. We were hunting Saddam Hussein for a good 9 months, and I was going on raids and missions just like what is depicted in the film every single night. Very harrowing stuff. And then I was transferred to Ramadi, where this incident happens, and spent another 9 months in that town getting blown up. Uh, my experiences, after that, I left the military. completely got out of journalism, television, and actually became a chef in New York City for many years. Unfortunately, my service kind of caught up with me between the PTSD and I had cancer from the burn pits. Um, I had to retire from being a chef, but I beat the cancer luckily
Good.
and decided it was time for me to start healing my wounds. So I went to Peru and sat with shamans and did ayahuasca and decided I'm too young to retire. And I decided, I'm gonna take another stab at life. So I went back to school. I got a degree in graphic design first, and then applied to film school, and decided I want to tell my story to the world.
Pretty cool, man. I'm glad you beat cancer, and thank you for your service.
Thank you.
And I'm glad you like Star Trek.
I do very much.
Picard, poster behind
Yes.
you. Have a great day, man. Thank you so
You
much.
too.